It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies. Hello.
Good morning.
Talk about in the building.
Yay.
Yay. Welcome back. How you doing? How was your trip?
It was good. So everybody that follows me online knows that I traveled, and everyone knows what I went to do was to help my friend take care of her newborn baby. So I didn't have baby blues. I loved holding the baby, but I did not want to go through that process again, because as much as I tried to be helpful, she needed to still take care of the baby by herself. So then I got to do training that I am excited about. So I am now a certified permanent makeup artist. That means I can do tattoos, but I'm not doing tattoos. I'm doing eyebrows, microblading and micro shading, and I feel very excited about it because I've wanted to do it for a while, but I never felt I could gather the money to do it, but God made it happen. So I'm excited about 2020. This is my first time on the show this year, so yeah. That looks so.
So we're looking forward to.
We missed you. Great.
I wanted to be your first customer. I hope you're not with anybody. I would like to, I'm thinking of permanent because this brow thing, it's just a lot of work.
It would help, actually.
Is it permanent?
She does it, you know, she just talk. Wait until she does it.
Is it permanent or semi-permanent?
It's
semi.
It's not it's not through your life, because your skin kind of like rejuvenates. So almost by the end of 1 year, you would either need to retouch or you can decide not to. But it can, if faint traces of it can be there for the next 3 years. But you might decide not to retouch. But 3 years, your entire skin changes, so you would have it fresh. Yeah.
How are you doing, Nima? How was your weekend?
She cannot mark her,
no,
she cannot mark her religion.
Anything close to permanent on me.
Yes.
It was the CEO this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Amazing event. I was just there. That's what
you didn't post pictures, or did you?
I posted on my status. I will try and post on Instagram. I posted as I was taking them so that I will not forget, and I forgot the rest. But when I go for events like this, I always forget I'm speaking. When you have people, plenty better people that you're just looking at. When we Spotlight was on Amina Oyagbola, and when she actually started from Satellite Town. Our story was not looking similar. She has 5 sisters. I said, our story is looking similar. 3 kids, lawyer husband. I was like,
events that have women.
It's looking similar, small. And then she finally got, her break. She talked about all the pains, the stories that nobody likes to share, the scars. And then remember her stopping at a point and the crowd was shouting, our time is up, we need to hear the end of that story. And so she had to come back and do that. And then the Spotlight was also on the first deputy governor of Lagos State, elected deputy governor of Lagos State, Alaja Sinotu Ojikutu, and she says hi to Morayo by your first name. Morayo Nko, Tokwenko, all of you, by name, Miriam, I say everybody by name, and she knows all of us.
Good morning, madam. God bless you.
She said to say hi to everybody. And then she closed, I liked what she closed with, that no matter what success means to you, it shouldn't be tainted with any sort of negative, any kind of negative
Somebody else
that would affect someone else. So, and corruption, she was saying, started back then, but success to her didn't mean doing anything that corruption would stain. And it also extends to our lives and everything. Enough.
Hi, Mariam. I'm fine, so I'll keep mine really short. Because,
you take it all the time.
Yeah. So at the weekend was one of my dearest friends. She was my late mother-in-law's really good friend. And my mother-in-law has passed almost 8 years now, and she's just been very consistent. You know how you forget to call someone? So she turned 82 at the weekend. Oh, wow. But every year she would give us something for Christmas. She would call us. If she's traveling, I'll come back. She would let us. Yeah, friend. That's friendship. And she's taking us and made us her children. I'm telling you, and my husband does feels the same about her. And it was her birthday at the weekend. So happy birthday, Mrs. Ocho. Thank you.
You can call her your mother.
That's really nice.
Honestly,
very lovely.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Yeah, there are.
Cool.
That's how friendship should be. She survive you.
I was busy all weekend because the project I was talking on, the Excel, was launched on Saturday. It was great to have over 4,000 teachers were trained. They went through intensive training for 10 days. And Saturday was their graduation. They've been given tabs. All their lesson notes are going to be in those tabs, and every single day. And they don't have to charge it. I mean, you charge once a week, and it's done. You don't have to, no matter what neighborhood you are in. And they don't have to keep worrying about light right then. It tells them exactly how to teach their classes, how to organize their classrooms, and also monitors where they are. So they actually resume classes. So there's GPRS. So you can't see in the house. and see you in school because your head teacher monitors where you are every point in time. So you have to be in class. They know where you are. You can't even say, you can't even give somebody else the tab.
These are for all the
teachers in Lagos State, in primary schools. And they're going to extend it.
It's
really huge, and I'm really excited to be part of it. So
please, we hope all the other states will take a cue from this.
Lagos State too is copying somewhere.
But we upgraded it.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take. We didn't ask you. Thank you. All we can take on that. When we come back, we'll go through front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with The Nation this morning. Buhari, Osinbajo and I have perfect relationship. Picture here of concerns mount over threatening coronavirus in China. Banks cut lending rates to woo more borrowers. Oyos to sacked council chiefs will deal with troublemakers. Federal government Asura over payroll grows, and Buhari orders airstrike on Niger bandits. Let's start with the major headline. What is our president saying concerning his vice president?
Our president, in an email interview to the Interviews, that magazine, he was talking about answering a lot of questions, among which was his relationship with our vice president. And he said, has he complained to you? We don't have a frosty relationship. Everything is fine. Everything is nice. And then he denied the existence of any cabal, saying that he was the one who was elected. He campaigned personally, and he takes all the decisions himself. This is the part I love the most, because Nigerians, when we want to defend him, we start to go, it's the people around him, and we want to go against him, you know. So now we know clearly who we are dealing with.
But there's some decisions he takes that we always question, is he aware? Because it seems like it's the cabal that he's speaking.
He just said it himself in the interview that I'm the one, no cabal. I take all decisions. I campaign to Nigerians, and I run this country by myself. So we know where to.
And he went on to Tiwa Danjuma saying that one man's opinion
his vote of no confidence against him is just his opinion.
And there was one more question about. So great, you want to take that? There was another question about the fact that he's being called Major General at the Punch. You said that I earned that right. Yes, I am a retired Major General, so I worked for it. So what is the big guy? I am a Major General. That's fine. Okay, another story.
So our president also ordered airstrikes on bandits that operate in the forest area that border like Niger State, Kaduna State, Zamfara State. Right. And he's saying that because of the Harmattan season, the Air Force had been unable to do like their usual airstrikes. And now that the Harmattan season is phasing out, they are able to do that to help those on ground police. But a lot of people are not happy that he said this, because they say that you are now giving out military intelligence. So you are preparing these people for what would come. So, and then, you know, it made sense to me that really you should have just kept this under wraps. These people would have just seen.
They're not doing anything.
Giving us information.
No, but giving us information to our detriment is not a good
information. The area is not also monitorable. So the only way they can actually attack the place is
the Punch. Let's move on very quickly. We don't have much time. Amotekun proposed law. Personnel will have power to arrest criminals, says AG. We don't have highest number of single ladies, says Mountain of Fire Ministries. Sanwo-Olu orders probe into the Amu Plank market fire. Command arrests 86 suspected Lagos cultists and kills one. Adeyeye wants appeal court to review sacking of judgment. Danjuma's criticism of my regime, one-man opinion. And 7.5% VAT implementation begins February. Finally, I take Leah's motherhood status with all pleasure, says father. Okay, let's start with Leah Sheribu.
Okay, so her father received the news that she's become a mother. And he's saying that, well, if that is God's will, she's alive and this is where she is at this point, he's happy. But he's also unhappy about sort of like the conspiracy of silence about her whereabouts. He says the federal government definitely knows where she is, as well as Ahmed Salkida, who is a journalist, and he's the journalist that sort of interacts with the government and Boko Haram, and he was the one that said that she had just become a mother. So please, whatever we can do for this lady.
Unfortunately, we have to move on to major headlines. Go ahead.
So major headline, after a meeting on Thursday, yes, concerning Amotekun, the Attorney General has confirmed that they can go ahead to create a framework. So now all the states, the 6 states in the Southwest, will be following the prototype developed by Lagos Ekiti, and Ogun. These 3 states would develop a model that would be the legal framework that would now be passed into law by each state House of Assembly.
Yeah.
So when that is done, and they are hoping the time frame is that by 1st of March, every state of assembly would have passed a bill to ensure that there's a legal framework for Amotekun.
Pastor Bakari is not saying that this is obviously a need to renegotiate Nigeria, because if Amotekun is allowed to happen.
He was saying it from the perspective that the protest concerning Amotekun shows that we need to renegotiate Nigeria, because those that were for Amotekun were saying that if Sharia happened, Amotekun should happen. Those that were against it were saying that if Amotekun happens, Nigeria will break up. So if we distrust ourselves so much, then we should renegotiate while we're together.
Already, I wanted to take... The Forum is already asking for their own Amotekun, asking other
Yes, I read that story too. Then MFM is saying that, please don't say that we have the highest number of single ladies, please.
I need to be careful,
in the last decade, they have married over 150,000 couples. So please, don't that.
Their members around me are not happily in
single.
They're not even in relationships.
Anyway,
maybe single people just keep rushing there because they
because
know that people are getting married.
I've taken notice.
Or because they know that they kill the demons that stop you from getting married. So you never know.
But they have facts. They have over 100,000 marriages.
Vanguard, I like us to take Vanguard because there are lots of important stories there. Amotekun, we talked about that already. Let's move on to 10 billion naira. Dangote Foundation empowers 34,000 women in Katsina. Lassa fever spreads. Leah Sharibu hasn't denied her fate, says Northern Can. Your opinion about me is not important, as Buhari slams Danjuma. 2023 presidency, it won't make sense to deny Igbo, says Tanko Yakasai. I wish I read that story. How we intend to make Eastern ports thrive. And basketball legend Kobe Bryant dies in helicopter crash. Okay, let's talk about the ports.
Yes,
you have that story,
the Madam of the Port was Miss Hadiza Usman was interviewed in the Vanguard, and she talked about how they want to focus on the Eastern Port, which they tried in December. One of the major bonded terminals moved their business to the east using Onne Port. And she's saying that the only problem they've always had with the Eastern ports and all the ports in Rivers State is the roads connecting to the ports, and that despite that, they are going to move. When she was asked whether Lagos was going to lose funds and whether the condition of the ports in Lagos or the roads now is a challenge, she admitted that is obvious, is evident. So I'm wondering, the bonded terminals being licensed in Lagos in residential areas, I read through the story looking for that because we have 4 surrounding me presently. So getting into my area is a tough one. Okay. And we lost a man last week because they blocked the road as usual, and he had a cardiac arrest. So obviously he didn't make it to the hospital. We sat in that traffic till it was confirmed.
So Dangote, our uncle, has empowered 34,000 women.
Yes, so this is part of his foundation. I hear he does this regularly. So he put up 10 billion actually for this particular exercise. So women who are vulnerable, really women who are suffering, poor women. I think each of them got 10,000 naira each. This is in Katsina State. Women from all the local governments in that state were empowered.
So we should just add a skill, because 10,000 naira is enough to start a business if they know how to.
They know.
Let's take the Nigerian Tribune: banditry, kidnappings. Buhari orders shelling of forest bordering Kaduna. We talked about that already. Tension as 68 Oyo local government LCDs are sacked. Chairman threatened to take over. Virus, WHO advises country to prepare for detection as death toll rises to 56 concerning the coronavirus. Talk about, you have the
Oyo State. So the Oyo State 68 local government chairmen were sacked shortly. Elected local government chairmen in Oyo State were sacked shortly after the new current governor of Oyo, Seyi Makinde, took office. And these people, they've been back and forth in courts, and they said they have a legal backing based on the letter sent by the IG of police to go and take their office now. So they intend to go there. The spokesperson for the All Local Governments Association of Nigeria, that's Ayodeji Abbas Aleshiloye, said that they would make that move this week.
My worry is that the AGF cannot make a pronouncement. I mean, he's not the... No. You cannot make a pronouncement and say that it is illegal for you to have the... Let me finish. It's wrong for him to make that kind of pronouncement without proper procedure being followed. You make a pronouncement and sack all the local governments you go on because the caretakers are illegally there. Fine. You go through the House of Assembly to ensure that it's properly done.
I expect the AG... that's of each state, for your state, for instance, to take that stand, because there's a Supreme Court judgment saying that it's illegal to sack local government chairman.
Exactly.
So what we should have the state INEC immediately do an election to replace. The caretaker committees are illegal. That's what the Supreme Court has said.
No,
so
the problem is that because those who were there
hasn't
were
gone.
APC before, and the new governor is PDP. So it's an APC,
That's what
becoming an
they're
APC,
thinking.
PDP.
That's what it
no,
looks
this is
like.
the reality.
The report,
The former governor was APC, right? And the local government chairman there were APC. Now the new governor is PDP. He now sacked all the APC guys, put the caretakers there, and they're saying caretakers are illegal. Now the proper thing is to do a re-election immediately.
Sharp.
It makes sense. So I can understand, but the issue is that why is
House of Assembly not speaking up.
making this pronouncement?
Malami
And the
wasn't talking
IGP is
to-
now trying to implement. I
He's
don't
not
understand.
talking to only the Oyo states.
all
He's
the
talking
states that
about
have done
Yobe
this.
and all the states that have done it. About 3 of them have done it now. So it's illegal.
So the State House of Assembly has the right to oversee any issue going on within the state, and they can speak up.
That's the office
Unfortunately,
of the
we can't take
Attorney
any more
General of every
papers
state.
at
They
this
should
time.
do their job.
We have to
Advise the
wrap up.
governors.
Let's go on a break now. When we come back, we have a few other topics lined up. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So today we'd like to open our phone lines because we'd like to hear Nigeria's thoughts on the report that says that Nigeria has dropped on the Transparency International Yearly Corruption Perception Index or ranking, moving 2 places down to rank the world's 34th amongst corrupt nations. Nigeria scored 26th out of 100 points, falling by 1 point compared to 2018. Now, Nigerians have been speaking about this. Governments have come out to defend their own position, to express the various areas they feel they fought corruption. We'd like to open our phone lines this morning and let Nigerians express themselves on exactly how far do you think the government has gone in fighting corruption? And do you agree with Transparency International? Because there are different versions. You know, we've heard the government say, oh, they've tried to introduce initiatives like the IPPRS to curb multiple salary payments to people in the lecturers and professors in universities. So these are various initiatives they've put together. They set up a different economic team that is helping to work behind the scenes. So, but Nigerians are still saying we haven't seen. We have not really seen the change. Yes, I mean,
one of the response that the Transparency International said was rather than the government denying this accusation, which is what
let
the
me
first
pause
thing
you for a
they
second.
do.
I have to invite the callers. I'll let go. You can call us on 070-806-6014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read the tweet. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Rather
Please.
than denying and spending money on press denial,
Right.
let's focus on the issues, and I think that's what we should do. So the issues raised in this, number one is talking about the challenge of, let me just get it. But I want to focus on number 2, backlash against media and civil society damages Nigeria's anti-corruption efforts. So for me, let's weigh the situation. Between the past 1 year, let's not even judge what, let's say we dropped within the past 1 year. What has been the state of media? How has the response of the government been to the freeness, quote unquote, of how media should be? We still have Agbajalingo, and the wife sent me a message on WhatsApp, and I saw it and I felt really bad that why are we not doing enough to ensure that people that are fighting, the civil society that are fighting and holding governments accountable are feeling like we are protected. They're not fighting for any political office, so they are just media personnel that are speaking up concerning what is wrong in society. And for any reason, we've had an increase in the number of those being detained. We've had an increase in the number of those that are being investigated, and arrests are taking place.
In addition to that, we've had actually more journalists gone to investigate, gone
That's where I'm
undercover
going, exactly.
to investigate. So I have not seen the government actually respond to these investigations. There's been lots of findings from even the prison services. We've not heard anything.
I wanted to go there immediately because number 6 of this report of the Transparency International was the inability to implement recommendations on anti-corruption. Now, based on the findings of journalists within the prisons and recently the psychiatric hospital in Yaba, what was the stand of government? I remember the Minister for Interior commending the young man who did the investigations in the prisons, but it ended there. What I would have expected was that, you know, because it's institutionalized corruption, as soon as he was done with his report and he recommended certain solutions, that we found people going down and paying for the consequences for this. But the investigation, as the report came out, it stopped there. I'm still waiting for the Ministry of Interior to do something on this. And when corruption is institutionalized like that, you'd expect that there are rules and certain things and places where people can reach out to when they are being asked to pay again for things like that. We know for a fact that when you attend certain public institutions like the police, you are made to pay for bail.
Yeah.
Which is illegal. When accidents happen, that's supposed to be investigated by the police. What they ask is you pay the bills for the person who's damaged your car, whoever is more injured, and make you pay maybe based on the size of the car you're using, which happened over the weekend.
Let me go ahead.
Yeah, you know, from every time we talk about Nigeria's issues, when we talk about healthcare, education, whatever, I just always say, see, it's in corruption that spoils everything in our country. That is how I say it. I mean, there's nothing we will discuss today that somehow cannot be linked to corruption. And that's why the third point that they raised, the institutionalized corruption in political parties and political integrity. See, we know we do not have proper political parties. We do not have proper politicians with ideologies, with ideas to help Nigerians, with values. We are just looking. We've become almost a political, for lack of a better word, political prostitutes. We just jump from one party to the other that would serve, very self-serving politicians. So I'm like, if these are the people that are meant to represent us and they are first self-serving, there's nothing that Nigerians will get from people who their main objective really is to serve themselves.
There's also can we admit, though, compared to many other governments or administrations we've had, that the body language of this government has actually shown that they wanted to fight. Because one of the things the AGF had said, that there's a goodwill, there's that posture the president actually carried that shows that this is not business as usual. So we didn't have that in other administration. There was as if it was there was this lackadaisical attitude of that's what AGF was saying, trying to say that compared to other administrations, we have that political goodwill.
Do you know what,
who's willing to fight corruption.
Let me agree and disagree that up until 2016, when the video came out from Kano, and we couldn't investigate a governor, and the House of Assembly, in fact, they had their hands in shackles, couldn't do anything. And then when elections came, we had to endorse a person because of popularity against integrity in this country. Immediately that fight, we lost that fight.
And for me, I wanted to add that as we were saying, political parties, they find something, it's as if they find a word, a buzzword, that will get people. And so for me now, so I'm thinking that now, as of now, the way I've seen this anti-graft war, going is that it was a word that they found that, if we say we're going to fight corruption, Nigerians will jump on this because you really haven't shown. Yes, you really haven't shown. Yes, I know that for the first time in a long time or ever, we have ex-governors in detention. But the thing is, it's not affecting whatever war or whatever victories it is that we have on the fighting corruption side. It's not translating to how we're living and what we're enjoying,
Okay, let me go in a quick. When we come back, we'll open our phone lines to hear your views on exactly how far do you think the government has come concerning corruption, and if indeed you agree with Transparency International. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So I know that in addition to what we were saying earlier, the spokesperson for ICP, Mokudu, has been trying to defend the government, saying that asked actually Transparency International to release the parameters they used to determine this ranking. And she was saying that they totally ignored certain, all the various activities the ICP, for example, has been doing to monitor the funds released for constituency projects, for example. They've given a report that actually also restrained multi-billions of naira being released to the MDAs that could have been embezzled. So these are work being done in the background.
Very similar to what Malami said from EFCC. Yeah. What he's saying is that they've done more. They've done a lot. They can do more. They can do more. And we can't say that they didn't do anything. Obviously, they won't get re-elected if they didn't do anything. And I don't want to seem like we're all just listing all the challenges this country has, but the challenges are indeed very overwhelming and they are very in our faces. So we need to always not just shun what Transparency International says, but we should listen to them, especially based on the fact that they are even, they might not list the parameters on how they measured it, but the facts that they released are not facts that they can deny. They cannot deny the fact that in Nigeria the rule of law is selective. You cannot deny the fact that the rich get opportunities to evade law. Yeah. That's a fact.
Okay, let me take this call. Good morning, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. First-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I've been trying you guys for like ages.
Yeah,
good to have you.
Okay, yes. The topic of the day.
Yeah.
The government actually has a good approach as in attending to the issue of corruption. But there are forces that is behind in this government that is not allowing things to happen. Like you guys have rightly said, it has not trickled down to the poor or the common Nigerians. The corruption, the issue of this corruption, fighting corruption, has not actually shown that the poor masses can actually feel this thing. That's why the fact that we've seen that previous serving governors have been jailed, in as much as we also hold the president to an account, the things should be trickled down to the poor masses, so that they will know that when you are fighting corruption and you are retrieving money from so and so, it should be utilized health-wise, educationally wise, and socially wise, so that when we see it, we will know.
Thank you very much, Peter, because you made a huge, very important point. So you are fighting corruption in the back. We're not seeing it. If we can see the proceeds of this your fight, and actually, then let me
Transparency International's representative in Nigeria, that's the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, responded on this particular issue, saying that these index aggregates are from different sources that provide perception about our business community, our country experts, and country experts of the level of corruption in our public sector. That while the index does not show the real incidences of corruption, it is a reliable indication of the perception of the Nigerian public and the international community about the state of corruption in the country. The index is 100% impartial, objective, and globally well respected.
So it's a perception issue, obviously, which is what people...
It's perception that we're talking about.
We are fighting, but we don't see the impact. Because we are all here when they created TSA, and we all said all the money going to one account so we can monitor. So we know they are monitoring. However, now that you save some money, how do we see that this money is actually being used for development?
How it is spent. They recover money. They don't say how the money recovered was spent. They say they will sell the property. They don't say how they sell. When did they sell properties? Okay, we've recovered $1 million jewelry from designing of a certain value, but we don't know how much it is.
Okay, so you see, there's the Transparency International. There are all sorts of parameters. The truth is that we're Nigerians and we know that there's corruption. So that's for you people to argue back and forth on what number you should be on the list. As a Nigerian, this is where I am and this is what I'm suffering. So this morning we read in the papers, Daily Trust did a report on the primary health centers in the FCT. And it says that the local council is in charge of gets the allocation for funding these primary health centers. They have over 200 primary health centers in the FCT. Only 30 are working. And they now decided to check the budget, to find out how have you guys been spending the money. They can't find it. They can't get access to the budget, to how the money was spent on these primary health centers. That is what we're facing every day. It does not matter what number we're on the list. The thing is that I go to a primary health center and there are no doctors, there are no equipment, nothing.
So
and money was made available for it.
So regularly, the residents of Satellite Town will go on a protest, questioning the regulation of port activities and petroleum tank farm activities within it. We know the agencies involved. We know DPR licenses. We know the Shippers Council also license model terminals and work with them. We know the MPA is involved. We've been to these agencies. They've told us what the law is and it's on our side, but it's not happening. Right. And we have the people, these foreign investors now, operating these bonded terminals telling us, when you people are tired, where do you want to go? In your own country. Knowing fully well that corruption has made it impossible for us to get our rights.
The impact of corruption that the government doesn't know to understand.
That people wonder when you lose a family member in such a situation and you're wondering, who do I turn to? And your government is saying, we're working on it. You have meetings, they are working on it for years.
So there's one trick that I learned in an event I attended about how human resource managers can effectively deal with when there's uprising within the company, in that you must first sympathize with the people. The first statement from our government shouldn't be that we reject this because we are feeling it. So if you don't sympathize with me, I understand that you are not on the same level as I am, and I cannot, you're not leading me. You are just in your own cloud. But the first, what I tell my leaders to do, yes, your hands are tied, is to sympathize with me. Say that we've heard your reports, we feel what you're going through, but we are doing our own work.
I'll address
From that point, I will listen to you.
Let me take this long distance
Not to
call.
deny
I have a call from Dublin. I think Josiah. Good morning. Are you there?
I'm here.
All the way from Dublin. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please. Are you there, Josiah?
I'm here, Josiah.
You're live. Go ahead, please. You're live. Go ahead.
Okay. Morayo, this is my first time calling.
Welcome to the show.
You.
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you clearly. Are you still there? We can hear you.
I'm seeing Peter on the screen. My name is Josiah.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Don't pay attention to the TV. Just listen to our voice.
Talk to me, not the screen.
All right. Morayo, there's a serious issue I need to complain about concerning what is going on in the island, Takwa Bay. Sorry about this conversation because it's not what you guys are talking about. I really want to push in. Hello?
Go on.
It's your view. Let it count. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, we lost that call. You have to wrap up. Yes.
Please. So, because at the end of the day, I don't want us to just talk about the problems, but let's prefer a sort of solution. So, because all the government officials are saying that they are working, and we can see some of the things they are doing. But what we're not complaining about the fact that they're not doing anything. We're saying that you're not feeling my pain.
We're not seeing the effects.
We're not seeing it. And you might think you're working, but your work is not trickling down. And as long as it's not trickling down, your first response should be, I hear you. I'm trying my best and I will do more. But if you don't come from I hear you, I can't listen to anything you're saying.
I think the vice president tried to echo that when he went to the editorial event, saying that, listen, we can't do everything. That we've not been able to reach everybody. And they appreciate when companies begin to do this kind of social responsibility activities. So the point is that we want our leaders to empathize. We know that, yes, we understand, however, we're working on it.
Truth be told, we are past empathy levels. Because you would come and say, I'm sorry, I empathize, I know what you're feeling. And we're like, yes, we've heard you say sorry many times before. We need to know what you're doing. And we need to see it from the top.
Yeah.
We need
ground up.
I know there's the ground up, but also we need to have examples set. So we have stories of the ex-governors, as I mentioned earlier, that are in jail right now. That's a good, that is good. It shows that you're fighting.
Enough of it, though.
But we have the whistleblower policy. Remember, we had whistleblowers that have been they've gotten themselves into trouble for blowing the whistle. Right. And then on the one hand, it's nice. On the one hand, it seems we're doing something positive. Right. On the other hand, it seems like we're killing what we have fought for.
Generally, I think we all agree that the government, they're working, but they need to do more, and they need to ensure that the initiatives actually trickles down to the people, and people actually feel the impact of the anti-corruption campaign. On that note, we have to go on a break. When we come back, we'll discuss what we're doing to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. The United Nations Development Programme is the largest agency with a mandate to eradicate poverty, and has been in Nigeria since the country became independent, providing capacity building and policy development support to the federal government. On the show today, we have the resident representative in Nigeria to talk about the UNDP's 2020 outlook for working with creatives in Nigeria to further its development agenda. Welcome with us, Mohammed Yahaya.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
You can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Right, so UNDP, obviously, we know has supported quite a lot of countries in development. And I know that your focus this time around in 2020 is the creative industry. Could you tell us exactly what that's about?
Yeah, so we're really interested in working with the creative industry because the Nigerian creative industry is the most uplifting export that the continent has had for a long time. If you think about how the music, the film, your artists, your fashion designers have had impact in creating what I call the psychology of progress. Before you progress, every child born in every part of this continent, but also in Nigeria, needs to feel that they come from a community and a society that can do great things. And I think the music and the entire creative industry has been one of those energizing aspects. So you can't think about development without thinking how your mind is set up. Are you ready to take on the world? And I think feeling that you belong to a society that can be so creative as the Nigerian society is, I think is one of the key elements of achieving development.
I feel very, very passionate about anything that has to do with growth, you know, and I feel that what you don't see, you cannot become. Yeah. And most of the time, this artists, these movies depict something that would make us aspire to be. And so, but what is the message that the UNDP is trying to push particularly? Because we have lots of movies coming out, and I have an opinion on how those movies what those movies should say. Because I know that when Star Trek came out, we don't have cars that could run without fuel. And they depicted it. We didn't have mobile phones, and they depicted talking across places that were not possible. And because they depicted it, those children watching did not know it didn't happen in real life. They created it. So I know that we can create things by just showing it.
So I think you're taking, because I have had my entire life is around what Toko just said, because I've actually had that pain for many years. And I'm actually working on a major research project on this. And when I heard that as your focus, I was pretty excited because I was going to have a conversation with you, because I feel, and I'd like to hear your perspective on this, that the kind of effect we got with Wakanda is something we must be able to build on. Suddenly Wakanda came, and suddenly Nigerians felt, Africans felt, oh my goodness, we're superheroes. We got this, we got vibranium. Kids are thinking that, oh yeah, Wakanda forever. But what we failed to see, and a lot of people have fought me on this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. We keep sharing the stories we know. And I keep saying, don't do that. We know Mr. Suraji will slap his wife. That is what we know. We know Mr. John would travel abroad and will have, you know, the basic Nigerian story. Those are things we see every single day. Sell a dream to the Nigerian child. Sell a future to the Africans. Let them see something they've never seen before. Do you agree with that? And do you think it's something we need to begin to change the storytelling of Nollywood, or even all the creative industry in the whole of Africa? Or do you feel like we still must tell our stories? We need to know where we're coming from to know where we're going. There's always that argument. I'd like to hear your views on this.
No, I absolutely agree with you. You know, for society to aspire to what it wants to be, it has to see it through its creatives, right? From the paintings, from the music. And for me, I think the importance of the creative industry is that instilling a sense of confidence, a sense of what is possible. For a country as diverse as Nigeria, that is so big with different groups in different parts of the country, what is it that the stories that can be told through Nollywood that says that we need to come together, we need to work together as a nation, we need to overcome our challenges? And for me, as a development actor, really, development is not only about good policies, it's not only about investment in resources, it's also a sense that we're in this boat called Nigeria together, and how do we solve those problems? And it's through creatives you can imagine how that can be done.
Cross-cultural marriages,
exactly.
cross-religious marriages.
So UNDP, how does it plan on partnering with creatives? Are we talking about funding movies? Are we talking about loans? What is the plan?
So this trip, I've been here a few days. I've been sitting with a lot of creatives, hearing from them. One of the things they always tell me is we came here, where we are, without anybody helping us.
Exactly.
And in that there is a sense also, you know, maybe we should let them do what they do anyway, because they've done so much. But also is exactly the kind of how does the creative industry see itself as a soft power for development. And one of the things I'm really interested is in how can we work with them to influence scripts. How can the scripts be unifying, uplifting scripts without being too direct and too obvious? Because if you do that, nobody's going to watch it. So this is the kind of things. I'm also happy to listen to what they have to say in relation to the challenges they face. One of the things they told me is piracy.
Yes.
They feel that there is a lot of piracy that takes away resources from them. There's also a sense that many people are not being paid a living wage. So this is the kind of challenges we're looking at.
So is UNDP coming with content? Is it coming with training?
Support.
Yeah, so we have a portfolio of support that we normally provide to countries and such as the creative industries, issues around capacity, issue around facilitation, issue around connecting them to the right people who can help. And then we're in 170 countries in the world. So we're able to cross-fertilize. And we have partnership with many organizations across the globe.
I like that, cross-fertilize. I like that word. Can I take this call from Okonkwo? Are you there? Oh, sorry, lost that call. Nima, go ahead, please.
So, Miriam took the question out of my mouth. Let me quickly just disagree with Moria, because I'm of the view that creatives should tell the real story, because the people in leadership are in isolation. They really do not understand or feel what we're going through. So, again, my example is the terminal. So if someone were to do a story on how painful and terrible and what's the damaging consequence of the operation of those capitalists within residential area was, maybe these isolated leaders would feel the real impact of what the decisions are, because they just license, get money, or bring in foreign investors, and that's it. So do you think that creatives should just, sell that dream alone, without, telling the story from the realities of the people where they live?
No, I think it's both, because telling a story of the reality, because this country is so diverse, you want to know what is real in Borno for somebody who is living in Lagos. So it's through the stories and the tales and the resilience of people that you hear, you connect. So you remember the story of Chibuk.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How it brought the entire country together to say, oh, we have to do something about this. Yeah. This is in our own country. Young girls have been kidnapped. But that is through the media, is through storytelling. I met a young man who just produced a documentary, won the Venice festival, called Daughters of Chibuk.
Okay.
Yes.
It's unbelievable, the story he's able to tell, and using 3D to take you there without having to go there. So you're right. I think there are many Nigerians in different places in this country that are doing an amazing job. And there's a lot of stories of love across regions. There's a lot of stories of coming out of nothing and becoming... I met a young man who's a musician here called Pato Rankin.
Oh, yeah.
If you hear his story of where he started and where he is now, and he just started a scholarship across the continent to send young people to universities and sponsor them. So and where he started, in a shanty town, some part of Lagos, he was telling me, and now where he is. So there's a lot of stories.
Let me take this call. Good morning, are you there? Oh, so sorry. Please try calling the person back. We'll have to go on a break. When we come back, we'll take a few tweets and more calls. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Yes, you're talking about...
So I want to talk about the two SDG goals that are very, very, for me, of all of them, these two are very key. It's the fact that we need education and we need to have healthcare. And I think everything would benefit from it. Education ranking #1. And I would feel that UNDP would focus on how to promote our education, the quality of education that our children are getting, especially within the primary level. What is in your plan, agenda for education, especially at the primary level? It's easy to pick a few, and the UNDP does that. They pick a few of the best in the universities and they get exposure, but we need to groom from ground up. How are you interacting with the government? How are you interacting with the schools and the state governments to do this?
So first, I just want to, I know the SDGs are 17, so sometimes it's too long, people will be able to go through all of them. But it's good to understand the SDG in terms of 3 pillars. You have the first pillar or set of SDG that focuses on people. What does the individual need? Education, what health, And then the second pillar is the pillar around prosperity. What do we need to have to grow the pie, to have the larger economy? And what are the things that are around the prosperity? And the third pillar is about the planet. How do we leave a better planet, a better Nigeria, a Nigeria that is less polluted than the one we inherited? So those are the way, I think that's the easiest way to understand the SDG: people, planet, and prosperity. UNDP, the education side is led by UNICEF, especially primary education. And I know my colleague Peter, I'm sure he's watching, they do an amazing job in supporting the Ministry of Education. I know they support capacities and in the ministry, but also they support many programs around the country. So I am not very familiar on the education side. From UNDP...
I didn't want to take you up on that because I really wanted to go there. Because my issue with these support from international bodies is the inability to scale. They start well, but they do a fantastic initiative, and that's how it ends. And once they leave, we go back to status quo. There's not enough support that actually takes us from level to level such that it's scalable and we can then see
which is supposed to be sustainable.
Sustainable. So that's my worry, but I didn't want, because since you've already said that you're not the one.
I'm not that, but I just want to say, I mean, the way the UN sees its work here, we are supportive of Nigeria and the government. We don't replace government. It's the job of government to provide those things. So we're here to support either through state government and the federal government. And we really essentially do, Nigeria has a plan for itself through your elected officials, and we tend to work within those plans.
I wanted to go to the issue of working with creatives now and the issue of piracy. Because one of the SDG goals is no poverty and zero tolerance for corruption. I wanted to see what ways you were partnering with our government now to help these creatives maximize the best for whatever they
against piracy.
Yes, the intellectual property.
First, going back, I just wanted to mention one point: the debate around what is the role of the creatives in the development agenda?
Yes.
And what is first, they create jobs. So that is an important aspect. Nollywood employs a lot of people.
True.
I think it's the second after agriculture in this country in terms of the number of people employed by Nollywood. So they play an important part. Obviously, they pay taxes that then we can use to build roads and hospitals and other things. But the other part is that they feel that intellectual property is critical for their survival. You can't keep on investing and whatever you've invested, somebody takes away for free.
Exactly.
So I think we're looking and talking and engaging with them on what can be done. And I think better enforcement will help around issues on piracy. But as I said, for me, the last 2-3 days has been listening, hearing from all of you. You know much more than I do. So sitting here also is more educational for me to know exactly what kind of support we can provide to them.
So you've traveled some around Nigeria so far, and you said you've been to the Northeast, and of course I'm sure you've seen how sad, especially the Northeast, because of the fight against the insurgency that we're fighting. And I'm wondering, sometimes in the North, people seem to think that a lot of development, a lot of international help goes to like the Lagos area, the South area. Maybe we get aid. There's always aid at the Northeast, What other ways, apart from just providing them aid to take them for survival to developing? So when we have people who are not just to link it to what she said. So we give you aid, you survive that period. How do we move you from just being
sustainable
to sustain you, to develop you? How does UNDP come in this way? Especially, I don't know, do we have creatives now in the Northeast, especially what we're going through? Yes.
Just two things. I've worked in several African countries. This is one of the few countries I've been where aid plays zero in budget. So Nigeria is self-sufficient in its budget. So it's not a country that relies on foreign aid to fund its programs as a country, which is something that you should all be proud of, so that you use your own resources.
That's a good thing, right?
A very good thing. Aid dependency I know countries that have 40-50% of their budget that is aid dependent, which means then you're not really independent as a country to be able to plan for your own future. So Nigeria is independent in terms of the kind of the resources and where it gets its resources. On the Northeast, I've been to Northeast several times. I'm going back again. I just want to say that I have never seen more resilient people. The kind of conflict and of the insurgents for the last 10 years, it has hit the communities significantly. But the response now, and under the new governor, I don't know if you've engaged, you should bring him here. a very exciting governor, Zulum, Babagana Zulum, of Bono. He's active, he wants to change, and what he tells me all the time is, I want to change the narrative of Bono.
Fantastic. We'd like to speak to him if you can connect us. But let me take this call from Ikeja. Good morning, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
I want to contribute to the program.
Go ahead.
That if for instance, we can always have 24 hours light as a sustainable development program in Nigeria, if only we can make sure that this national stealing, encouraging people to steal very well and calling it national cake to the detriment of the whole Nigerian society, to the female population, is what is causing this stagnation, poverty, because when we calculate for the past 16 years that President Obasanjo has provided money for 24 hours light, for instance, and we still do not have light, even though President
Hello, Bumi. Oh, we have to wrap up, but I think I get where she's coming from. I'd like to bring out a question for what she just said. The issue, we can't go away from the issue of anti-corruption. Do you feel that with your plans to help support the creative industry, the corruption drive that our president has launched can actually support this? Or do you think it's going to be inefficient? Because people are complaining that they're not seeing corruption being actually fought. So in your view, with this plan for the UNDP, do you believe that corruption in itself can actually be dealt with to help ensure that the creative industry thrives?
Absolutely. I mean, the piracy is part of corruption.
Definitely.
Right? So you, but also I think it's really important that we see corruption as a broader challenge that will not be solved overnight.
Right.
Because it's also in value system, right?
Right.
If a policeman stops you and asks you for money, if somebody is selling things on the side of the street that without permit, all those are part of corruption. So how corruption is dealt with, critical for development because it takes resources away from key areas. And we at the UNDP, as part of our governance portfolio, are very much involved in supporting government to fight corruption. But I just want to tell you, these things are not something that can be overnight.
Yeah.
All of us have to play an important role. If every individual in our day-to-day behavior are able to refuse to engage in corrupt actors, we also contribute to the anti-corruption.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up. Thank you so much.
We
thank you that you come on our show to share the support your organization is doing for our country. We'll continue to monitor and see how far you've come and how far, and we'll try to bring you back whenever you're back in Nigeria. Yeah. Let us see how far you've come, especially with the creative industry.
Absolutely. Hold me accountable, I say. I'm back.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we did. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.